Welcome back to Hi Neighbor. I'm Annie Jones.
And I'm John Park.
As students, we often forget that our time in this town is limited to our experience of just a few short years here.
Boone becomes our home for the time being as we work up to graduation. Local neighbors, food, music, and more all become a part of our Mountaineer identity.
Today, we'll be taking a closer look at the vital role housing plays in feeling at home in these mountains.
Whether it's unpacking your freshman dorm room, unlocking your first ever apartment, or checking in on for a night at King Street, our town succeeds in making any stay feel welcoming.
Join us as we find our home away from home on this episode of Hi Neighbor. The Standard is one of Boone's newest apartments, and yet it was already voted as the best place to live alone by the Best of Boone 2019. Today I have with me in the studio Maria Gallo, the leasing and marketing manager of the Standard, to talk to us about the resources the off-camping housing complex offers its residents and how it's maintaining its success. Thank you so much for joining us. Would you explain me a little bit about your position at the Standard?
Sure, yeah, like you said, I am the leasing and marketing manager. I oversee leasing efforts, and I also take over all the renewal efforts as well, so our current residents that are with us that will live with us next year. And then I also do the social media, I do marketing offsite, and I make sure that our future residents have everything that they're looking for in their new home.
Awesome. What kind of work goes into placing these residents and making it run smoothly?
Yeah, so we do have roommate matching, just in case you don't come to our apartment complex already with a roommate in mind. Basically, we ask you questions like, what time do you wake up in the day? What's your class schedule like? Just so we can match you with somebody that has a similar lifestyle as you.
Awesome. So what kind of role did the Standard play in providing a home away from home for these students?
So we try our absolute best to provide a very homey experience for our residents. We give them plenty of spaces to do all their studying, all their relaxing. We have courtyards where they can lay out and get some fresh air. We have spas that's open year-round. Our gym, our fitness center, is available to our residents 24 hours. So we try to provide them reasons to never have to leave.
Awesome. And what kind of complex events do you guys throw?
So we actually hold resident events 3 times a month. This past month, we actually did a blood drive. We had a Halloween party, and we're actually currently running a food can drive as well.
Awesome. Awesome. That's really great. And I also know that the Standard is praised on its solo placing. What kind of things do y'all do to ensure that?
Yeah, so all of our apartments are actually fully furnished. So you will find a full bed set, so including the mattress, bed frame, dresser, desk, computer desk, chairs. Your kitchen will also come fully equipped with all the appliances, fridge with an ice maker. We have oven, stove, microwave, deep sink, so whenever your dishes pile up, you still got some room in there. We have dishwashers, and they also come with full-size loads of washer dryer as well.
Awesome. That's great. What's the most rewarding part to you about placing these residents and working for the staff? So
I really love working with the Standard because it's a very family feel. Everybody on our team is very hands-on and helpful anytime that you need it. And then on top of that, we also try our best to make it very fun. We have activities not only revolving our residents, but also just our staff members to make sure that we're all, just having a really good time while we're there.
Awesome. And as a tip, as a temporary home away from home, what kind of tips do y'all allow to give students to make them have that kind of feel?
Yeah, so we actually just recommend that you become part of our community. With our resident events, the whole purpose of it is so that you meet your neighbors and you meet your staff as well. So just be more proactive and just come down and meet people that you haven't talked to before.
What made you want to get involved with the Standard and housing management here in Boone?
It was actually just a really rare opportunity that occurred to me. I was previously in retail for the last 4 years, and I wanted to get out of it, but I knew that customer service is something that I felt really passionate about. So I reached out and I got an interview, and they gave me the shot. And I've been in love with it ever since.
That's awesome. I really like that. What was your housing experience like for you when you went to App State?
So I actually never lived in a dorm. I transferred over from a different school in a different state, so I went straight into living in an apartment. It took a bit to find a place that I felt fit all my needs, but I eventually did, and I fell in love with Boone. That's why I decided to stay and build my family here.
That's really beautiful. So what do you think is important for apartments to have compared to on-campus housing?
I feel like just that one representative in the apartment complex that dedicates their time solely to just make the residents' lives easier, just to ask or answer any questions and comments or concerns that our residents may have is very important, just so we can listen and actually get feedback.
Can you tell us a little bit about your pet policies you'll have at the Standard?
Yeah, so we are pet friendly. We do have weight and breed restrictions, but we absolutely love all of our furry friends that we have at our apartment complex.
And how do you feel like these policies impact your residents?
I think that we try our best to meet all of these policies just to ensure that all of our residents are safe and feel comfortable with everything that's in their living environment.
And for those who may be interested in moving off campus, where would they start with that?
So we actually are leasing now. Housing in Boone, once you get off campus, can go pretty quickly. So you want to get on top of that game as fast as you possibly can. Our application is all online, so no hassle whatsoever. If you have any questions, you just call us at the office. But simply, it's all online process that you can start today.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today, Maria. Coming up, we hear from one of our producers, Addison Haggerty, as she visits a hotel on King Street that keeps its tourists coming back.
Located on King Street across from the Mass General Store, the Horton Hotel and Rooftop Lounge is a quaint building nestled in the heart of downtown Boone. The Horton prides itself in unique rooms, cozy chic style, and the wide range of amenities offered to guests. Addison Haggerty sat down with Andrea Morton, the director of hotel operations, in order to get more insight into the new establishment.
So what kind of inspiration went into the design for this hotel?
So Fulton Levin is the owner, and his wife, Denise Levin, are both owners, and he really had a vision of kind of making the mountains in Boone also come together in a chic boutique hotel design. Things like the beautiful purple that you see, and fine finishes like glistening like light fixtures that you see to kind of give it an Art Deco feel. So there's a lot of things that went into the space to make it really interesting in design, and not just mundane and not cookie cutter like other big box hotels.
The Horton Hotel wasn't always as glamorous as it is today. The original building was constructed in the 1920s by H.W. Horton as a Studebaker dealership and a Spain-Ayres department store before becoming the Horton Hotel. Today, the Horton keeps itself competitive by marketing itself as a luxury hotel with stunning mountain views from the rooftop bar and walkable access to any storefront in downtown Boone. Through competitive pricing, personable staff, and additional booking benefits like complimentary parking and an artesian breakfast, the Horton Hotel certainly stands out amongst other hotels.
If you're interested in learning more about the Horton, visit thehorton.com to book a stay, or discover more about their interesting history.
Whether you're a recent high school graduate or you're transferring in from another college, the Appalachian on-campus experience is something that we all have to go through. Having your home at a walking distance from your classes helps with your transition into college, and I'm excited to speak with Resident Director Thomas Studnicki at the Dorm Life here at AppState. Thomas, thanks for joining us.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Well, so for those who may not know about the behind the scenes of the housing, what work goes into planning where students go and like what kind of their life is going to be once they get here?
Well, it all starts as soon as your application is received. So assignments receives applications, and they review them on a regular basis throughout your application process. And so you have there's a lot of steps that goes into it, but really it is a random assignment. Our system automatically assigns you based on your preferences. So you list in there you like a cluttered room, but you like to go to bed early. Then you'll be assigned with someone who put that same preference. So coming into the residence halls, that is the first thing that happens. You're assigned into these spaces. Before students even get on campus, the rooms are cleaned. We transition away from summer conferences, and the halls are essentially prepared by the RA staff. And then so another part that goes into it that I directly oversee is residence life. And so the residence life aspect relies on the residential learning plan. And so when you're moving in, you have your hall opening programs. You have your RA opening floor meeting. You're greeted at that first check-in station by a hall staff member. And so behind the scenes, there's a lot of work that goes into the planning aspect of it. But once students get on campus, we're happy to have them, and we're really excited for them to get started.
Gotcha. So what kind of roles do the residence halls, would you say, play into the freshman experience?
It really depends on the student. And, if you're coming to college and you're ready to get involved, you're ready to get out there, your experience is going to look different from someone who says, I'm undecided and, college might not be right for me. But both people find a place, I think, in a residence hall. And so there's research that says that students spend up to 70% of their time in a residence hall. And, you can think about that as they're sleeping for part of that time. But also the other part of that time is they're studying, they're getting engaged. We have opportunities on campus for students to get involved in hall council, and so that is a really big part of them, their growth and development as first-year students, because that gives people the responsibility of setting up a lot of programs in the building, and it really gives them also the avenue of advocacy. A lot of people that I know through SGA have gotten involved, at least a portion of them, through their hall council and their residence hall association.
Gotcha. And speaking on that sort of interpersonal life that you have in those residence halls, how do RDs, RAs, the staff in the dorms, how do they create a community, a tight-knit community?
That's a good question. There's a lot of different ways. And part of it is through the residential learning plan that I talked about earlier. That is really our big driver. So we have expectations that are set for staff to move through this, and so that hall opening program that I talked about, that's the big start. Once that happens, we move through and we have floor meetings that get people connected. RAs also conduct what we call app chats now, which are just one-on-one conversations with RAs. And so that really is the big way to create those interpersonal connections. But another way is through the use of hall programming. We have a lot of programs that go on in residence halls, and people typically don't see it. Looking at our survey results, we saw a lot of students say, I would love to see more programming in the residence halls. And we've really done a number on expanding that, especially with our partners in wellness and prevention. So social programming, we've increased it, and so a lot of residence halls, there's at least one program going on a week, at least. In my building, where there's 8 floors, they're required to have 2 programs a month, at least on just their floor. So that's 16 programs in the building happening. And then 1 building-wide program by the hall staff, 1 building-wide program by the hall council, and then 1 building-wide educational program, which could vary from a lot of different things. A popular one that we do is called BJ's and PJ's, which is when we get Ben and Jerry's, people come in their pajamas and we talk about how to have healthy relationships with other people. And so it's really exciting, and people usually get really excited for programs like that. So that really is what fosters our interpersonal connections in the hall.
Gotcha. Well, I think I'm gonna have to come down for some Ben and Jerry's
right.
and PJ. I mean, that sounds exciting.
That's a good one, yeah, yeah.
Well, speaking of just the life in the dorms, what would you say is the most rewarding part about being involved with this kind of process?
So, the most rewarding part is you can immediately see what you do. You put a lot of work into it, you'll immediately see that outcome in terms of students getting involved in our hall. When you get involved, and we always encourage first-year students, apply to be an RA, apply to work on the RHA executive board. That's an election process that they do. And there's a lot of people that go into that. There's a lot of people that are in that election. And so the most rewarding part, you get that leadership experience, and we really harp on that leadership experience, because it's something that you won't necessarily get from another club on campus, because you don't have as much autonomy. My hall council manages a budget of $1,400, which in the grand scheme of things, $1,400 is a lot of money in a residence hall, especially when it goes to hall programming. And so, you get that experience managing a budget. You get that experience working on a team. In high school, you have students who may have never had that experience. And so we really encourage that. And so working on a team, getting to know other people in your hall, having the opportunity to gain leadership experience and meet other people on campus is really a big thing for us.
Gotcha. And I'm sure getting to know all those people is especially important during the winter time here when you're all cooped up in your dorm, right? So what what special housing situations would you say that Boone presents that some other colleges might not have?
You know, there's two big parts to that. One is exactly like you mentioned with the weather. There's a lot of students that tend to stay inside toward the winter time, and so we are upping our programs. We are getting people into the lobby spaces. We always keep the outside of the buildings ready for people to go outside and sled. We keep the sidewalks, shoveled so people can get around. So that's an interesting challenge. I think the biggest challenge, is external, in the fact that, when you've had your experience on campus and you're ready to take that experience off campus, the housing market up here is more limited than in other spaces. And so more students are asking to come back and return on campus, which presents a competing demand in the fact that there's more first-year students coming in every year, and there's more returning students every year trying to go off campus. And so our unique market really is in terms of numbers. I would say that we're like a typical college town. We have the scene. We have a Walmart, if you can believe that. And so
the necessities.
The necessities, exactly. But we have restaurants in town. So we have a lot of places to move into. There's places close by. There's places far away. Lots of space, like smaller spaces. And so there's a lot of places to go once you take that step. But on campus, there's a great diversity in that as well. We have a lot of different types of buildings. And so your second year, you kind of get a little bit more choice in that. And so you can really make that decision. I really loved living in a traditional residence hall. Maybe I'm going to stay there. Or you can say, I'm ready to move in with a few of my friends into a suite style building. And there's plenty of room on the campus for spaces like that as well.
Gotcha. So, when people move to college, it's a temporary housing situation for them. So what tips would you give to underclassmen, people that are coming in, what tips would you give them to make themselves feel like they're actually at home here?
I say, I think a really big part of it is the first one, decorating your space. There's a few things that, you can't bring from your typical, home life into the residence hall. A lot of it has to do with, wattage and heat and stuff like that, because when you get a lot of people in a small space, you don't want them, lighting a fire for a candle, for example.
No more Keurigs.
That's right, no more Keurigs. But we do allow, if it's under a certain wattage, 1,200 watts. If it's under that, you can bring it. And there's a lot of things and a lot of different brands that still fit that, and Keurig's one of them, too. Yeah. But you can bring string lights, hang them up on your wall. As long as you unplug them when you leave and you don't get too close to the ceiling, it really adds a homey look. Another part of it, steps outside of that room. Your lobby, your hallways, you don't want it to look like it's painted beige and that's it. You want there to be something out there, and so contributing to that space in a responsible way is really important to making it feel like home. And then I think the third part would be, getting to know the people around you. Some people, when they get to college, they know their friends from high school. They know that they're in band. They know that they're really involved in a lot of other campus activities. And, we really encourage that. But getting to know the people around you is really important. Getting to know the people that live not only right next to you, across the hall, a few floors up, a few floors down. That's really what makes it feel like home.
Gotcha. Well, Thomas, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course.
Good luck with the rest of your year.
Thanks so much.
That's it for this week's episode.
Thank you for joining us today to learn more about how students, travelers, and locals come together to make Boone feel like a home away from home for us all.
Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at watchapptv.com and check out our YouTube channel, AppTV, for more content.
Until next time, bye neighbor.